Ellen Yoder, and she is our speech language pathologist. And she will be talking about ways to improve speech and swallowing, and she'll be up here in just a moment.
Well, hello. What? One more time. There you go. I would like you to raise your hand if you've had to repeat yourself or didn't participate in a conversation because you knew you wouldn't be heard at least one time this week. Has anyone had that experience? Well, then you're in the right place. Wonderful. Thanks for coming. My name is Ellen Yoder. I've been practicing for more than 30 years, working with people impacted by neurological impairments from stroke, brain injury, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and other types of injury or illness. I am certified in 2 programs that help people with Parkinson's disease and to improve their ability to communicate. And I'll talk a little bit about those later. If you've been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease recently or even some years ago, I want you to know that there's always something that you can do to help yourself manage your illness. And I know you've been learning about that today. Before we start, I want to make sure everybody's well hydrated. Have you been drinking today? Everybody's been eating? Good. We will be using our voices this morning to do some warm-ups and have some conversation with those around us, so we need to be well hydrated. And don't get intimidated. It's going to be a fun conversation. All of us in this room know that communication makes life meaningful, so this statistic is important for us to consider. According to an article published in 2018 in the Journal of Movement Disorders, as many as 89% of people with Parkinson's disease develop speech disorders, so early and ongoing treatment is important. And before I continue, can everybody hear me? Okay, you want me to speak up a little bit? Okay, all right. And feel free to move up if you want to, if you can't see the slides very well or if you can't hear me. How's my voice now? Is that better? Okay, I got a lot of thumbs up. Good. As the slide says, we know that exercise is medicine. So the good news is that speech therapy can help you to improve your speech and swallowing skills. According to the Parkinson's Foundation, only 14% of people with Parkinson's disease use speech, occupational, or physical therapy as part of their treatment plan. So that means there are many more people who can add something beneficial to their treatment plan. I'd like you to raise your hand if you've ever been to therapy for your Parkinson's disease. Okay, fantastic. Wonderful. Now I'd like you to raise your hand if you've ever gone for a tune-up after your initial therapy. Couple hands are up. Okay, good. A tune-up is something that's available to you at any time. If you've been through one round of therapy, we usually say, hey, come back in 6 months or a year and let us just see how you're doing. In this way, you can really stay on top of your symptoms and keep yourself motivated to do your exercises. When we start therapy, we're motivated to do the exercises. We know the therapist is checking up on us, and so we're doing them. But over time, appointments get in the way, or we're tired, or family commitments, and sometimes we drop off on those exercises, and pretty soon, we're not doing them at all. There's no shame or guilt in that. That's just human nature. So therapy is designed to help you get back into that. That's what a tune-up is for. I want to highlight the fact that being intentional is key. The pyramidal system in our brain is in charge of conscious control of muscles. The extrapyramidal system is in charge of reflexive or unconscious behavior, such as swallowing regularly and vocal loudness. Loss of dopamine in your brain due to Parkinson's impacts the extrapyramidal system. So what we do is we tap into and recruit your pyramidal or your intentional system to work for you as we address voice and swallowing. So we recruit the correct system or the functioning system by doing things with intent. When you hear PD, the first thing that you may think is that stands for Parkinson's disease. I would like to suggest that now PD can stand for two different words, proactive and determined. Therefore, the slide says, I am in charge of my Parkinson's disease because I am proactive and determined. So when we talk about being proactive, that's what you're doing today. You're coming to a conference to learn about different therapies and treatments that can help you manage your symptoms. The determined part comes when you follow through with those things, when you do your exercises or when you go to therapy. So many of you raised your hands to show that you have been to therapy. I'm wondering if you would raise your hands to show if any of you participate in any type of regular exercise program. Fantastic. And I know we've done some here today, and there are some tables out that highlight some programs where you can do that. I want you to pat yourself on the back. I don't care if it's real or figurative. I want you to congratulate yourself for doing that, for exercising, and for coming today. I want you to savor that feeling of I am being proactive and determined. If you've just been diagnosed recently with Parkinson's disease, don't wait until your symptoms are more noticeable or problematic. Start therapy and exercise now. That way you don't have to kind of go down and then go back up. Sometimes when we get people that are newly diagnosed, it's really exciting because they're saying, I don't have trouble with these things, and we're saying, great, let's keep it that way. I recently had a client that I was seeing, and he had a shirt on from a past Empower You course, and it said something about taking charge of his PD, and he said, you know, Ellen, that's really easy to say, but it's hard to do. And I recognize that, but that's why you're here today, and that's why you want to surround yourself with people who are going to encourage you and cheer you on in your journey. Before I came here today, do you think I practiced what I was going to say? Of course I did. In the same way that I wanted to be prepared, those with Parkinson's need to be prepared to use your best voice possible. So we're going to warm up together now. The first thing we're going to do is breathe. So I want you to put your hand on your belly, and when I say go, you're going to breathe in to the count of 3, and then you're going to breathe out to the count of 3. And you should feel your belly moving. Your hands should be moving. We're built like a balloon. When we inhale, we expand. When we exhale, we deflate. So here we go. Ready, set, go. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3. Did you feel your belly moving? Good. Okay. Let's try it again. Ready, set, go. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. One more time. Ready, set, go. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3. Very nice. All right, the next drill or the next warm-up is designed to help you improve your volume. So we're basically going to say the vowel sounds A, E, I, O, U with an M on the front. So when I say go, I want you to match my volume and say these different sounds together. Ready, set, go. May, me, my, mo, moo. Nice. And you should feel like you're using about a 6 or 7 effort out of 10. You're really putting some effort into this. Let's do it again. Ready, set, go. May, me, my, mo, moo. That sounded better. Good. We're going to do it one more time. Ready, set, go. may, me, my, mo, moo. Beautiful, very nice. The next thing we're going to do, and this is what you need your good breath support for, is we're going to do a 10-second ah. So when I say go, you're going to say ah in that same number 6 or 7 voice for 10 seconds. Ready, set, go. Ah. Nice. Let's do it again. Ready, set, go. Ah. You are great. One more time. Ready, set, go. Ah. Beautiful. Now, here's the big one. We're going to do a pitch glide, and it sounds like this. Ah, ah. When I say go, I want you to try that with me. Ready, set, go. Ah, ah. Nice. Let's do another one. Ready, set, go. Ah, ah. One more. Ready, set, go. Ah, ah. Now, if that was hard for you, you can also do it like this. Ah, ee. And I tell my outpatients to scream like a little girl. So if you have trouble getting your pitch up, really think about that. Let's try one of those together. When I say go, we're going to do the ah and the e. Ready, set, go. Ah, ee. Oh, I heard some nice pitch change there. So whichever one works best for you, you can use as a warm-up. Now that you've warmed up, if you have Parkinson's, you can say it to me, or you can turn to the person next to you and say, "Don't you love this speaker? I'm so glad I came today." All right, go ahead. I hear some nice loud voices, and hopefully you're using that number 6 or 7 effort. How did your voice sound? Did you like it? Raise your hand if you felt like it was good and strong. All right. If you feel like you were using that 6 or 7 effort, or if your volume matched mine, you were doing what I want you to do. And I do want to say that before I came, I practiced, so just think about that. Before you go to an appointment or to have coffee with someone or to see family, you can practice before you get there. You want your voice to be ready to go. So these little warm-ups that I showed you, you can do on your own each day. Now I'd like to talk about showing your best face and using animated voice. And again, these are things you can practice every day. So when you get up in the morning and you go into the bathroom, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and smile and say, "Hey, you're looking good today." Or just do 10 smiles. It might feel a little bit mechanical, but as you practice, it will feel better. And again, you're tapping into that intentional system to get that facial expression. So we're going to practice again. I want you, if you have Parkinson's, or you can, if you don't have a partner, you can look at me and do it. You're going to turn to someone, you're going to smile and say, "You look great today." Now, if you just received that compliment, you're going to turn to the person that said it and say, in your best voice and your best face, "Thank you, I know." I hear a lot of good, strong voices. How were your facial and vocal expression? Did you feel like you were being intentional when you were doing that? That's what needs to happen. Now I want to talk about LSVT, loud, speak out, or traditional therapy. What I want to say is they can all be beneficial if you commit to do the work. It's great to go to a therapist and get started on the right path, but you're really half of the plan. What you do at home is just as important as what you do in therapy. LSVT Loud is a program that was developed at the Lee Silverman Voice Institute. It's research-based, and when you say you're going to go to Loud therapy, you're committing to go 4 times a week, an hour session each time for 4 weeks in a row. You're also committing to doing homework each day for about 5 to 10 minutes and twice a day on the days that you don't have therapy. It's pretty involved. But you're really making a commitment to do something new in your life, to really be intentional about your voice. Speak Out Therapy was developed by a speech therapist from the Parkinson's Voice Institute. That therapy meets 3 times a week for about 45 minutes for 4 weeks in a row. In the same way, you have daily homework, and you are committed to practicing outside of therapy and making a change in your habits or your routines to keep your voice strong. Speak Out has a follow-up group called the Loud Crowd, and we encourage people to get involved with the Loud Crowd after they have taken the individual Speak Out therapy. There's nothing that makes a speech therapist more sad than when people do their warm-ups in a nice, strong voice, and then they start talking in a quiet voice when they start talking. So the Loud Crowd helps you to maintain that. The last type of therapy is traditional speech therapy, and in traditional speech therapy, we touch a little bit on cognitive skills such as memory. We might touch on vocal loudness, and we might touch on swallowing, whatever you need. And that typically might meet twice a week for 8 weeks. I'd like to talk for a moment about a device called a Speech Vive. This is a wearable device created by a speech-language pathologist in 2013. She is now a professor at University of Buffalo, but she invented the device. She helped a biomedical engineer design it, and she did research on it. And after about 10 years of research, it's now reimbursable by some insurances, by Medicare, and by the VA. It operates using the principle of the Lombard effect. And the Lombard effect basically says when there's background noise, we start talking louder. And so this device is designed like a behind-the-ear hearing aid with a little microphone or a little speaker in your ear, a speaker in your ear, and it presents noise when the speaker speaks, thereby forcing the speaker to talk louder. Unfortunately, it's not suitable for someone with hearing aids. And I'm sorry, I have the wrong price on the cost. It's about $3,500, but like I said, it is reimbursable or covered by insurance. If you don't have a secondary insurance after your Medicaid, it would be about $42 a month for 13 months, which is close to $600. I do have some contact information on the slide about it, and if you didn't get that or you want it, you can see me after the talk. Speech therapy can also help with swallowing and saliva management, and so I want to talk about that for a few minutes. If you're experiencing coughing or throat clearing at mealtime on a consistent basis, you might consider asking your primary care physician for an order for a swallowing evaluation with speech therapy. A speech therapist can complete a clinical swallowing evaluation with and make some recommendations about further instrumental testing, diet textures, postural changes, environmental modifications, or get you started on doing some swallowing exercises. Some simple tips for mealtime might include swallowing hard, and we're going to do that together right now. I want you to close your lips, press your tongue up against the roof of your mouth, suck all the saliva onto your tongue, and swallow hard like you're swallowing a ping pong ball. And you should feel a little lump in your throat when you do that. That's just a hard swallow, and that can be helpful if you feel like some food is hanging around in your throat. Sometimes you might combine that with a little liquid rinse and then a hard swallow. Another thing you might consider is looking at what's on your plate. If you have 3 items that require a lot of chewing, like meat, salad, and bread with a crust, your swallowing muscles are going to be tired by the end of the meal. So you might consider varying some of the textures. Maybe you have one chewable like a meat, and then maybe you have a cooked fruit or vegetable or something that's soft, and then a puree. In that way, when you have various textures on your plate, you don't have to work so hard at swallowing. Another suggestion might be, we might say, think about smaller, more frequent meals, a 10 or 15-minute snack 6 times a day. I realize this might be challenging with going to therapy appointments and doctor appointments, but it's something that you could consider. For saliva management, I often encourage people to pair swallowing saliva with a regularly occurring event, such as every time there's a commercial on the TV, I swallow. Every time I see a stop sign, I swallow, or a traffic light. As we know, we're not swallowing as often with Parkinson's because the extrapyramidal system isn't remembering to swallow or isn't doing its job, so we have to be intentional about swallowing. The last thing that I have on the slide is exploring some products that may help you with saliva management. Sometimes a physician might give you a Botox injection into your saliva gland, but you'd have to consult with your physician about that. The other thing is when you get those injections, then you have a dry mouth. And so then you need to look into some products that can help you manage your dry mouth, such as Biotene toothpaste or Biotene rinse. I want to invite you, if you have questions, to see me at the side after the talk so that we can keep the room clear for the next speaker. This is the end of my presentation, and I want to thank you for coming today, for being proactive and determined. To summarize, I want to say that daily practice is very important, and we've talked about that, and I've given you a few suggestions for that. Consistent attention to your speech and swallowing each day is key. Unfortunately, you cannot coast when you have Parkinson's. And it's easy for me to say standing up here because I don't have Parkinson's, but that's why it's important to surround yourself with people who will cheer you on and encourage you in your journey. That's why you're here today, because you're finding out about resources that will help you in your journey with Parkinson's. And lastly, I want you to remember that you have lots of experiences and wisdom to share with children, grandchildren, neighbors, and friends. So keep your voice and your emotional expression working so that you can share yourself with others and not get left out of the conversation. It's been really great to be with you today. I thank you for participating in the warm-ups and the conversation. So what we're going to do is leave this conference by saying goodbye out loud as a group. When I say go, we're going to say goodbye in our strong voice. Ready, set, go. Goodbye.